Hey everyone, Sarah Etter here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for today's webinar. So I wanted to do a webinar today, basically talking to you guys about how to break through that wall and keep scaling and buying more properties. I know this is why we raise capital, why we work with joint venture partners, but I really want to talk about the systems and the methods that we're going to use to really scale up and continue to buy properties. So many of us really get into real estate with the intent that we want to build an empire, that we really want to fulfill our dreams through real estate. We get excited and we start buying properties, and then things break down. We can't find enough properties. We run out of financing, and it can get disheartening. And that's the time when a lot of investors quit. So I want to show you guys exactly how you can create a funnel and the systems you need to really ramp up and scale your real estate portfolio and just keep buying more properties. So I also want to tell you guys that if you're staying tuned tonight, tonight's webinar is going to be about half an hour. And if you want to stick around, until the end, I'm going to be making an announcement and also giving away free copies to my new book. So I created a new guide for you guys, basically I call it the roadmap to finding unlimited capital, and it's where and how to find really good partners, step-by-step a guide. So I want to give you guys a copy if you stick around until the end. So let's dive into tonight. So essentially, we need to buy more properties. Most of us have income goals that require more than one property and even maybe more than 5. When I do the calculations for most people investing in the GTA, we're looking at close to 20 properties to replace a corporate income if we're just looking at passive income and cash flow. So, that is a lot of properties, especially given that most banks only give us about 5 mortgages or so. Sure, we can stretch to the bank and maybe get 12 mortgages if we're lucky, but the bank is eventually going to cut us off. So it's important to start thinking now about how you're going to raise capital, how you're going to keep growing, and even more importantly, where are you going to keep finding these properties? Other people think that once the capital comes, they'll just keep buying, but it's also tough to find the right deals in this market as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So in order for us to scale quickly and continue to acquire the number of properties that we need, we have to be able to scale quickly. And sometimes that means no bank financing. If we have to wait for the bank to pre-approve us constantly and be waiting on other people to get the mortgage, we could be passing up a lot of good deals in the market. So it's really important to be open-minded and really think about creative ways to structure and finance your deals. The whole goal for this is to scale, it's to continue to grow, to just be able to buy unlimited properties. So in order to do that, we need to think outside the box. So we can do this a number of different ways. So tonight we're probably going to talk a little bit more about buy and hold properties. Obviously some of this does apply to flips as well. Using private financing, vendor takebacks, those sorts of things can definitely be used for flips, but we're going to talk more from a buy and hold perspective. So one very creative way that we can use to keep just buying more properties, especially if we don't have capital ourselves or we can't hold mortgage financing, is private money. So that can come from a variety of different sources. That can come from individuals that loan us money. It can come from mortgage brokers who can get us access to those individuals. But either way, private financing can be very helpful. It can help us buy a property when we don't have financing right at this moment. We can just buy the house, renovate it, and then find a way to refinance it later into a conventional bank mortgage. Or in the case of a flip, just sell it and liquidate all of our capital out. Private financing is really helpful for BRRRR properties, so the buy, renovate, rent, and refinance model. Essentially, we can really just get all of our capital in that's not our own, pay interest on that money, and then BRRRR it out in terms of a refinance or into a conventional mortgage product in order to get that private financing out of the property, and then we're holding the property free and clear. there's a lot of different ways. I mean, there's hard money lenders, again, mortgage brokers. There's definitely different sources of private financing. Just important to make sure that you understand the risks of private, the interest rates that you're going to be paying, as well as some of the penalties and costs that can come along with private financing. Interest rates can be very high, between 10 to 15%. There's often very high broker fees upfront or lender's fees, as well as penalties if you break that mortgage early. So make sure you know the terms before you get in. We can also use vendor take-back mortgages. That's an amazing way to buy with almost zero or very little money down. So essentially, this is called also seller financing, where we can negotiate with the seller to actually hold their equity that they currently have in the property so that we can buy it. Typically, this is like more of a shorter term or mid-term type of strategy where we are going to hold the property for a certain amount of time, maybe do some renovations, and then refinance into a conventional mortgage product, very much like private financing. The only difference is rather than have an external third party come in and loan us a mortgage on the house, the seller is going to keep their equity in the deal and essentially loan us that mortgage. So we'll be paying interest payments to them. Some people will do up to almost 100% VTB or 90% if they have that much equity in the deal. That's what's really going to determine how large of a VTB you can have, is how much equity they have in that property. And the rates tend to be pretty good, usually close to prime, so usually between like 4 to 6%, which isn't too bad. And I've known people that have held VTB for years. So depending on the comfort level of the seller and how fast they want their money out of that project, sometimes you can hold a VTB for several years before you need to refinance, which is good. It gives you time to renovate and find alternative financing options. So that is a creative way that you can just scale quickly without needing to worry about having a mortgage holder. Obviously, the final way to scale quickly if you don't have your own mortgage financing is joint venture partnerships. So this is essentially where we have a money partner who is going to put in the down payment, hold a mortgage, put in renovation closing costs and all the additional financial contributions to the property, and then you split the profits and the cash flow 50-50. So this is like the ideal situation, but it also does require the JV partner to qualify for a conventional mortgage. They have to agree to all the terms and whatnot. The first two options are often overlooked, and that actually allows us to buy properties without a JV, at least initially. Oftentimes I might buy a property myself with private and then find a joint venture partner after the fact. So that's always a possibility. So don't be afraid to mix some of these strategies as well. It's always an option. I left off of here RSP mortgages. So I think that's definitely something we should mention as well. Even in terms of private financing, where we're getting those funds from, it can come from an RSP mortgage, which is kind of neat. So obviously someone with a self-directed RSP can loan us, usually it's a second mortgage, sometimes renovation funds. So there's always different unique sources of capital. If you don't have capital today and you feel stuck, you can't get mortgage financing, there are so many sources of financing out there to continue to buy properties. They do carry maybe a little more risk. It's a little more thinking outside the box, but none of these strategies that I use, I do without a lawyer, without an accountant, without doing my due diligence. So don't be afraid to delve out and try something new, because you will have a power team on your side. You will have your lawyers, you will have your consultants. So don't let that dissuade you from purchasing a property, maybe with private financing, and then, figure out the component after that, like the other conventional financing. At worst case, you can turn around and sell the property if you can't find a mortgage holder. So there's always options to continue to scale quickly. So that's all well and good, right? Now we have some different sources of financing that we can buy properties with, but now we have to create a funnel of where to actually find deals. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about because they're so worried about finding the capital. But as a full-time investor, I can tell you that the capital is the least of my problems. Finding really, really good deals in a hot market, especially in the GTA, is a huge thing right now. Most of my partners, they're looking for really good properties and really good deals, and there's a shortage right now. So I would say the majority of my time lately is spent not on finding joint venture partners, but on finding off-market deals. So I want to talk to you guys a bit about creating funnels and how to exactly, find and locate some of these good off-market properties. And again, make sure you guys, for all of the newcomers who are tuning in, if you guys have any questions while I'm going through this, don't be afraid. You can type in the chat comments. I'm watching it as we speak so I can answer your questions in real time if you guys think of anything. And at the end, I'll also be giving away copies of my new guide. So make sure you guys stick around so I can get your emails and send you your copy. So when it comes to off-market deals, it does take a lot of effort. This is one of those things that it's not just like random that, people see me posting on social media that I have this new 5-plex or I have a new duplex conversion. Behind the scenes, I'm spending hours looking at properties, networking, and creating this funnel of off-market deals. So essentially, my deals come from a variety of sources. They come from wholesalers. They come from my own personal flyers that I'm handing out on a consistent basis, not myself, but I have a flyer team. I do online advertising, like on Kijiji and through Facebook, and of course my realtors. Never overlook realtors as a source of good deals. Again, you're gonna have to work with the right realtors, but mine are constantly sending me exclusive and off-market opportunities, but you need to ask. You need to say, hey, this is what I am looking for. This is what I'm interested in. Please send me these opportunities. But the caveat to that is you have to have the ability to close quickly, because your realtor will not send you off-market properties if they think that you can't close on them. So that's why it's important that you guys review and go over section 1, which is the private financing piece. Make sure you have a JV lined up. You have some private financing. You can negotiate a VTB or use a line of credit or something to be able to close a property quickly, because realtors will feel like you are wasting their time if you cannot close. And wholesalers too. It's not nice to, go and see all these properties when you really, really aren't sure about where the money is coming from. Get the money piece, feel confident about that, then go searching for properties. For me personally, again, I have a bunch of brokers who are kind of always in the background, that if I really, really need a mortgage on something like private financing, there are so many mortgage brokers out there that specialize in private mortgages. So don't think that you have to know a bunch of guys with money bags running around. There are brokers in your neighborhoods that are putting together private financing and private mortgages all the time. So connect with them, figure out what their terms are, figure out what they need from you. And then if that's all well and good, then you can confidently go to a wholesaler or a realtor and start looking at private deals. When it comes to my own funnel of leads, that's where I get the most of my deals, and it's the biggest bang for my buck. I do spend money every month. I spend a lot of time and effort, but it is so worth it because I have control over the deal flow at that point, because they're all my leads coming to me. I have bandit signs. So you guys have probably seen those around, those we buy houses for cash signs all over telephone poles. I'm one of those. I also have people who go door to door and door knock and actually distribute flyers. That has been my number one success story when it comes to getting deals. I just saw 6 off-market properties last night that I got from last week, and those were just from flyers. So if you have to hit the street, do some door knocking, you got to do it. It's one of those things where you really just have to put the sweat equity in if you want to get deals, and deals are what are going to keep your joint venture partners and your money partners coming. So if in order to scale, it's cool if you have a lot of cash, but if you don't have any properties to buy, you're also going to hit another bottleneck. You need to continue to keep finding good deals. And the more off-market deals that you do, again, you're going to control that deal flow. So it's really, really important. So try it out. I had clients, I had students that did this for the first time last week. They sent out 50 flyers. They just went around their own neighborhood and door knocked, and they already got 3 phone calls. Okay, so that's impressive. I tend to do thousands of flyers per month, but it goes to show you that it's an effective method. So if you really want to get out there, you want to try to find some off-market deals, start door knocking, print off some little letters and notes, and start going door to door, because I promise you will see some results. Post on Kijiji, post on Facebook saying you're looking for private deals, join some Facebook groups. Don't be afraid to get out there, because again, finding off-market deals is a lot of work. So make sure you have the financing, put in some sweat equity, and start to build good relationships with local wholesalers and realtors to continue to create this funnel of deals, because then you have the perfect marriage. You can essentially just keep going and going and going. Now you have capital sources to pull from, you have off-market deals to pull from, and you can continue to grow. So for those of you that are interested in joint venture partners in particular, it's really important that if you are going to grow consistently, you have to figure out what your investors want. And I mean, this goes for maybe more than just buy and holds. This goes for flips. This goes for if you want to start your own small wholesaling business, that you really need to figure out what it is that your investors want. You need to figure out what their pain points are, what makes them tick, what makes them excited. If you're doing a flip, you need to know what sort of finishes your end buyers want out of a home, not just what you like. If you're a wholesaler, you need to figure out what types of properties are investors buying right now, so that you're not putting offers in on properties, getting stuck with a deal that you can't sell off to someone else and you can't close on it. It's never a nice situation to be in. And when it comes to joint venture partners, it's even more important that you understand who you're talking to, because in order to continue to create a funnel of JV partners coming in so that you can do deals with them, you need to understand them inherently. So you need to create something called an avatar. And an avatar is basically a very, very specific marketing tool that we use to identify our target audience. So that's going to be, you're going to even name them. A lot of people recommend that, so you can get really personal with them, call them Bob and Debbie. And Bob and Debbie are of this age demographic, and they have 2 kids, and they live on a cul-de-sac, and they live in the suburbs of Brampton, and they have corporate jobs, and they just go on and get really specific about your Bob and Debbie avatar, because you're going to be able to then hone in on what are Bob and Debbie's pain points, what makes them interested in doing a joint venture, what makes them interested in real estate investing to begin with. When you can really hone in on that and figure out what makes them tick, you can then talk to them so much easier. You know what types of properties they like, you know what sorts of things sell them, you know what sorts of properties they're going to be interested in. And that's really, really important. When you either, through your marketing on social media, you're going to talk to them in the way they want to be talked to. You are going to bring them the deals that they're interested in. I see so many investors make the mistake where essentially, they're just talking to everyone, who wants to invest with me? Give me cash. And that's not good enough, because you sound desperate at that point. You need to really hone in from more an emotional level, because oftentimes the cash flow and the deals aren't what is going to be the clincher for someone. It's not good enough. I've given people deals before, and maybe we just weren't a good match, and it doesn't matter how good my numbers are, if it's just not the right fit. They're not going to do business with me. So you need to sell them on more than just the deal and more than just the numbers. And until you develop kind of your character avatar, you're not really going to know what it is that is important to these people. And again, typically it's not the numbers, it's how are you going to protect my investment? How can I trust you? What are you going to do if something goes wrong? Those are typically the questions that I get asked, not what's my cash flow? When can I refinance? Those questions will certainly come up, and you need to know your numbers. But more importantly, in the beginning, they're really trying to suss out my character and who I am. So that's what we are going to get into for the last segment, which is, and I promise to talk to you guys about how to gain confidence asking money from strangers. So there might be some of you on right now that are thinking to yourselves, yeah, like I'm really just not comfortable in asking strangers for money. I feel desperate. I feel embarrassed. I don't want to bring it up. I don't know how to talk about real estate to these people. And that's valid. That is a very common thing that happens to a lot of people. It's not a comfortable conversation in the beginning, feeling like you're coming with your hands out saying, please, will you give me money so I can invest in real estate? So we're going to talk about value proposition. We're going to talk about objections, the stuff that is going to help you gain confidence, but also loop into this idea of an avatar and knowing what your investors want. Because once we know what our investors are looking for, then we can create a custom value proposition that matches exactly with what they need. And so we look like the missing puzzle piece to everything they've ever been wanting. So if I have an investor who they have a corporate job and they are super busy, but they really want to grow a portfolio. Their kids are in school, they want to retire early, spend more time with their family. I can say, okay, well, I can find you, this type of investment that, maximizes your time. I'll take care of all of the details, the acquisition, the renovations, the tenant management, because I know nobody likes being a landlord. You'll never have to worry about, a broken toilet, a screaming tenant, late rent. I will handle it all. And every month you will receive a cash flow check in your bank account, and I will even take care of the accounting and make sure that you're set for year end. That's a beautiful proposition. And the more you get to know your specific client, I can tailor that even further depending on their risk aversion. Because some people are a little more like shy than others. Some people don't want to take as much risk. And so from that perspective, I can kind of say, okay, so-and-so, make sure that, I'll make sure that, this is in place, or we're going to make sure that I find you a property that only has this much in renovation in like a safe neighborhood. I can take all their fears, all their doubts, all the things that they're questioning and create this amazing value product to them. And that's how I describe it, is what we're offering them is a product. It is a service. It's not just a house. It's not just a joint venture partnership. This is a service that we're providing for people. So you can look at it like that, hey, here's this pretty little product wrapped up with a bow, and here's all the bells and whistles that come with it, specifically tailored for you. And I think that is why I have such a high success rate when I meet with my investors. By the time I meet with them face to face to pitch them a deal, I have like a 99% close rate. And that's because I've spent so much time leading up to that meeting, getting to know them, asking them really pointed questions, so that by the time I get to the meeting, I'm creating this package, this idea of exactly what is going to be a good fit for them. And I reiterate and I repeat it back to them. I say, hey, I know you talked about this, and I think that this is really important for you to consider. I want you to get the best success out of your real estate portfolio. So I think we need to target X, Y, and Z. We're going to look after this because I know this was a concern of yours. Boom, boom, boom. We tick all the boxes, crossing your T's, dotting your I's. It shows you are prepared. It shows that you care. It shows that you listen, and it shows that you're in this for more than just the money, that this is a true partnership. And that really comes down to like your brand too. So it's important to make sure that you're not jumbled in your messaging when you talk to people. Don't just say, yeah, I'll do a flip, even if you've never done a flip in your life. You need to stay consistent and true to the type of investing that you're going to choose. And that will have people reach out to you more consistently. So picture this, you specifically focus on multifamily properties in a specific market. you know that your avatar likes certain things. And doesn't like certain things. So on your social media, in your marketing, or just when you're presenting to these people, they know you already. They know you do multifamilies in a specific market. And you are now going to take all of their fears, like loop it into what you do and what you offer, and say, you know what, we'll use Bob and Debbie again. I heard you. And so I tailored this. And so when I'm talking like on my social media, I'm going to talk about Bob and Debbie's fears. I'm going to talk about what it is I do and why it's a good fit for them. So there's my resume. I'm reiterating almost the exact same thing in my face-to-face meeting with them that they have seen all over my marketing, all over my branding, and all over my social media. It is like a resume to hold up to them before they've even met me face-to-face. All right, Jessica has a question for us, so I'll take a quick pause. All right. So this is a good question. So Jessica is asking when I make offers, whether I am writing them up myself or whether I'm usually getting my realtor or lawyer to write up offers. That's a fantastic question. I would say it really depends on who's bringing me the deal and how confident I am about that particular deal and market. So if my realtor brings me a deal, I use her. So, or him. I have a couple of different realtors in different markets. I'll trust them. You know, they brought me the deal. They understand the market. They know the listing agent. I just let them handle that. Tends to be the easiest way. If it is an off-market deal, oftentimes I will write the initial offer. I'm very confident in writing offers. You might not be, and that's okay. If it is your first time ever submitting an offer in on something, don't be afraid to pay a realtor a commission, or even just get your lawyer to review it before you submit it if you're nervous about what clauses to put in. That's like the biggest thing, right? Most of us can't screw up the body of an offer, the asking price, the closing dates. That's pretty straightforward, but is a Schedule A with the clauses and conditions that can really screw us over. If we miss out and leave out something really important or phrase something incorrectly, we can get into some serious trouble. So I would definitely say consult if it's your first time. Talk to a lawyer, talk to a realtor, see if they'll give you their opinion and advice on the clauses and conditions you should have in. When you're confident enough and you've done enough of your own offers, there's definitely nothing wrong with submitting your own. For my own flips, I don't think I've ever had a realtor submit my own like an offer on my behalf, because I know what clauses I'd like to use. So good question. Yeah, so back to gaining confidence. So I think you guys can probably see where I'm going with this, in the sense that the more I understand my value proposition, the more I'm clear on my branding, and the more that I can provide value to my investors, the more confident I'll become. So it's really important that, you know, your investors are probably going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to ask, why do you get 50% of the equity? Why aren't you putting any financial contributions into this? What happens if the rental market crashes? I don't know if I believe in this model. When you have sat down and gone through this entire list, and you know, hey, this is my market, this is what I provide, here is my value proposition, and look, I'm providing all of these services to you, I deserve value. If you lead with that, your objections just melt away, or people don't even ask them in the first place. So I had 2 JV meetings today. And you know what's so funny is when I brought up the 50-50 split and the like financial contribution that they were required to bring to the table, they did not falter. They just took it at whim, because I did not hesitate. I didn't feel shy. I didn't say, well, you know, typically we ask for a down payment, but maybe we can figure something out. I am very clear. I say, this is the value I bring to the table. This is the property. You put in the down payment. I cover X, Y, and Z. This is my split of equity. I have earned it through the work that I have put in to this deal. And this is what is required of the money partner. No ifs, ands, or buts. And you definitely should practice this. So I would recommend for homework for you guys, if you sit down, write up all the different things that an investor could essentially ask from you, right? ask about, or like write down and think like, what could they potentially ask you? You know, they'll probably ask about the 50-50 split. They'll probably ask you about who has to put in financial contribution. They're going to ask you all of those questions. So sit down and write down every doomsday situation that you could think of that an investor can ask you, and practice with a friend, record yourself on a video, sit in front of the mirror and just practice. It's so, so important. The more you do it, the more comfortable and the more confident you're going to get in pitching to an investor. All right, we have one more quick question and then I will wrap this up. Okay, so Anil is asking if I focus on rentals only or do flips. So I actually do, I'd say about 85% buy and hold rentals, and the rest I do in flips. I do flips basically to create more like liquidity for myself in my business, but I only take on good solid flip deals that come across my table. I usually don't actively seek them out. It's mostly if the numbers make sense and it's not going to be a massive rental project. I don't like huge flips. I like to keep it very like cosmetic type of renovations, because I'm so busy with my rentals. I don't want to be taken away from that with my flips. Okay, another awesome question. All right, so Oleg is asking, how do we know what our avatar wants? We would need some kind of statistically significant sample of them to truly understand what they want. So that's an excellent question as well. So what I would recommend for you guys is a lot of this marketing research has been done for us, at least on a demographic level. So what I would recommend is go on Google, search for marketing research, pick an age range. That's usually like the easiest way to do this. So I would say like, you know, your typical JV partner is going to be between the ages of like 28 and let's say like 45, kind of like the peak JV, maybe like a little bit like into the later 40s. Search online and say, okay, you know, if this is, you know, my demographic that's going to live in this area, there's so much marketing research online that talks about what clubs these people like to visit, what music do they listen to, what do they buy, what do they tend to do with their spare time, where do they tend to live. It is difficult, don't get me wrong. It's really hard to know specifically, you know, what that general avatar is like, but they're Facebook has research. All of the consumer goods people take a ton of demographic data, and a lot of it is available to the public. If you guys want to get as specific as you can, what I would recommend is doing an online poll. So you can use a company like SurveyMonkey. I've done this personally myself. I've gone on the, you know, huge, you know, across all the GTA, put an ad out across Toronto, a survey saying, hey, if you were interested in investing in real estate, what would matter to you? And I basically got people to fill out this survey, and it made them put in their age, their demographics, like just basic information that I needed to know about them, what mattered to them when it came to investing. And so yeah, over time, like I was able to compile enough information about my specific avatar. Otherwise, we really just have to, like, I don't want to say guess, but, you know, put the pieces together. Do your own research. You can even, like, in person, going to networking events, going to local entrepreneur clubs or local professional groups, we can really start to like hone in on what these people are doing by getting out in the community, doing our own research. There's census data on StatsCan. You're going to have to pull it in from a variety of different sources and put together your avatar. But nothing replaces actually talking to your avatar. So if you can find people, like go on social media, ask, hey, have you ever thought about investing in real estate? Would you be interested in something like this? Ask them to book a phone call, give them something for free, give them, I don't know, a gift card or something, and just get them on the phone and pick their brain. Because it is true that we do need a statistically significant sample size to be able to get a full idea, but at the same time, if we can get even just a couple and dive in really deep into what and who they are, it should hold fairly true for our whole sample size. And I can say this from experience that my avatar is so consistent over so many levels, it would boggle your mind. Where they live, how many kids they have, what types of jobs they hold. Of all my joint venture partners, they are all so freakishly similar. So, start to do some research of your own, check online for some of this marketing research, pick a demographic, and start to see if maybe you can pull a survey of people as well, and just talk to as many people as you can. Write down all the significantly important information that you can. Okay, so we have another question from Daniel. How do you approach an investor to partner with you when you have no experience beforehand? So this will probably be the topic of an entirely separate webinar. I could probably talk about this for hours. So this is definitely something maybe I will address in another webinar next week. But to give you as much of the condensed answer as I can possibly give you, the best way to do it is if you don't have a track record, you have to provide something else of value for your investors. So that's usually deals. If you can prove that you can find a good deal and you can put together a solid team behind you, that can make up for a lot. So if you work really hard and you get a good contracting team, you get your mortgage brokers in place, your lawyer, your power team, the people that are going to be informing you and telling you what to do and how to do it, then you can say, when someone's like, well, you don't have a lot of experience, you can still talk to them and say, hey, you know what? Actually, I have a world-class mortgage broker. I can help you out with that. You know what? I have a lawyer. He's going to draft up the best JV agreement. From a real estate perspective, I have an amazing realtor and I have my own source of off-market deals. I'm going to find you a fantastic deal. And with my power team together, we're going to put together this amazing deal for you. That's essentially what I did when I first got started. I had zero track record, no properties to my name before I started raising capital, but I had done some property management before, so that kind of helped as well. I had a little bit of real life experience, even though I didn't own my own properties. I was still doing tenant management, and I'd been to landlord tenant board. I'd served N4s, N11s, N13s. I was really experienced. So that kind of allowed me to talk to partners and say, listen, I don't own my own properties, but I know how to run one. And I have this power team behind me that's going to answer all the questions that I don't know currently. So I would say if you're really new and you aren't sure about your market, you don't have deals, pick a place to start. Pick a power team, get everybody kind of behind you that you need to support you. Start to find deals, get good at analyzing, and do some shadowing, do some mentorship. Show that you've been involved in a deal. Even if you have to volunteer on a weekend to go help at somebody's flip or help manage somebody's tenants, get out there and prove that you have had a little bit of hands-on experience, and that can definitely go a long way. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Just to kind of recap for you guys, in order to scale quickly, you need to think outside the box, right? When it comes to financing, don't get stuck on the banks. Don't get stuck on conventional financing. Just think about vendor takebacks. You don't know what one is? Go meet with a lawyer. Go meet with an accountant and figure it out. Work on getting JVs. Get some private financing. You can buy houses with cash. You don't need a bank. So just make sure you know your numbers ahead of time so you're not over leveraging yourself and getting in over your head. When you're, to keep this funnel going, once you have the cash, you need deals. So create a team. Go door knock. Put in the sweat equity. Post online. Meet with wholesalers. Get your realtors on board. The more you network, the better deals that are going to come your way. I can't even tell you guys how many deals I get in my inbox per week because I network. I talk to so many realtors and so many people involved in the real estate industry. Every time I meet someone that might even remotely have a deal, I say, here's my email, keep me posted. You want people just constantly funneling you deals because that will be a huge bottleneck for your funnel. Now find out what your investors want. I know we just talked about this at length, and I understand that this is the toughest part, is understanding what your avatar wants. But we can also like use rational thinking too. If I know that a family, you know, is really tight on time, and you know they want to grow equity, and you know they give me a variety of information about themselves, I can deduce that, okay, time matters to them, equity matters to them, doing BRRRR properties so they can pull out their capital, that matters to them. What properties can I bring them? How can I frame this information in a way that's going to matter? Well, I'm going to emphasize hands-off time management. I'm going to emphasize that I can get their capital back and they can recycle it faster. I'm going to reiterate, you know, the low risk factors in the markets that I'm going to show to them. You know, we can really get in their heads without even necessarily needing to talk to them. But I do encourage, do a bit of research online. So much marketing data that Google and other companies have done that is available to us, especially on Facebook. If you guys go in the back end dashboard, Facebook has so much demographic data, as well as putting out a little survey, you know, family, friends, even just get a feel and ask them if they'll, you know, do a survey with you to really get an idea of their pain points and what matters to them. Gaining confidence. Okay, so when we have all those pieces in place, we need to get confident enough to ask for cash from strangers. So we do that through branding, through creating a value proposition, by knowing our markets, knowing our cash flow numbers, and just really hitting hard with what we are bringing to the table. So write down your services you're offering, write down what you're bringing to the table, and then practice your objections. Record yourself saying them, practice them with a friend, just keep going, and you know, talk to an investor as if they're like the most evil investor you've ever met. They're just throwing like objection after objection after you, and they're mean. How are you going to handle that? How can you stay calm and focused? You bring your value, you list out the services, and you do not back down. You are worth that 50% and you need to own it. And if you don't feel like you own it, you are going to continue to just talk to yourself in that tone. I deserve this. Tell yourself that and just keep practicing it over and over. And eventually it will become more natural and you will believe that. So that is our webinar for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm so glad everyone was interacting. Your questions were fantastic. If you have other questions, always feel free to inbox me and message me on my Facebook page. And definitely, I'm going to be doing this again next Wednesday, hopefully every Wednesday. So if you guys have topics and stuff that you want to go through, always hit me up. I'm open to talking about anything for you guys. Maybe next week we will talk about how to approach investors and how to strike up real estate conversations. I think that might be a good topic. For everyone that has tuned in and stayed to the end, today I am releasing my free roadmap to finding unlimited capital. So it's a step-by-step guide on where to actually find investors and how to find these money partners. So a little bit today we talked about the avatar and how to break that all down. This will actually go in detail. So if you guys want a free copy, I just launched it today. So comment or PM me with your email and you guys will be the first ones to get a copy of the roadmap and guide. So thanks again, guys, for watching. It's been awesome and I will see you next week. Have a good night. Bye.